Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today in our webinar. We are still waiting for a few friends to join us, so please be patient a bit and we will start in a few minutes. Thank you. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, I think we can now start the webinar. Hopefully, all of you can hear me well. And you enjoyed the lovely music just now. If anyone's a Ghibli fan, like myself, we definitely need to chat. Okay, so welcome everyone on this lovely Thursday. And congratulations, we all made it to November. Okay, so for this webinar, it's the Capability Circles TechUP series. And today we will be covering the Robotics Process Automation and Better Data Driven Charities Consultancy. So I hope everyone remembers what this Better Data Driven Charities, or BDDC for short, is. So now we are launching a consultancy to help agencies to implement BDDC as well as RPA. So stick with us to find out more of what this consultancy entails. Okay, so just some administratives. So below at the bottom of your screen, you'll be able to see a chat function. This is where you can see, instructions from the NCSS team on, renaming yourself when you ask Q&A questions. So you can also see there's a Q&A portion. So this is where you can put in your Q&A questions that we will address at the end of the session. Okay, and last but not least, you might be able to see already, but this session will be recorded. All right, so let's just kick off this session and start. Okay, so just a program outline. So sorry, we are running about 5 minutes late now, but no worries. We will try our best to still end at 4 p.m. Okay, so like I mentioned, today we'll mainly be covering RPA, and there will be a sharing by the consultant, which is Nanyang Polytechnic, as well as SSA, which is Catholic Welfare Services. After that, we'll be moving on to the second portion of our webinar, which is covering consultancy to implement the BDDC data templates. And there'll be a sharing by Nanyang Polytechnic, as well as Babes Pregnancy Crisis Support. So very exciting sharings today. We will also be having, as usual, the grants and resource sharing. And lastly, the Q&A session and feedback. After that, we will end the program and let you guys leave for the day. All right, okay, we will start. So I'm sure most of you guys know what the OHFSS is, the Organizational Health Framework for Social Services. If you have not already seen this yet, please, I highly recommend you to scan the QR code here or go to go.gov.sg/OHFSS, because this self-assessment framework will be able to give you a holistic assessment of your agency to see in which areas you are excelling at and which areas, there might be room for improvement. So it really gives you a holistic view. There are 7 different domains within this OHFSS, as you can see on this slide. In today's webinar, we will be covering 2, which is digitalization, which the sector digital transformation team is known for, as well as community and partnerships. And why community and partnerships is within this webinar today is because of our lovely partnership with Nanyang Polytechnic. So because of NYP's vast knowledge and digital capabilities, as well as their passion to upskill the social service sector, we have partnered with them to strengthen digital capabilities for the sector through digitalization projects as well as training. So yes, love partnerships. Okay, so this webinar will cover Data Digitalisation Consultancies, both for robotics process automation as well as consultancy for the implementation and customization of BDDC data templates. More to come, right? Okay, so just to emphasize these 2 consultancies we are sharing today. Okay, so what you can expect today from today's webinar. Firstly, what is RPA? You keep hearing this jargon, this term thrown around, but what is it? And how can this consultancy, how is it related to RPA? How can it support your agency? That's number 1. What are the suitable processes that can be automated using RPA? There are so many different kinds of processes, but as you may know, not every process is suitable for RPA. So what are the suitable processes? Next, what are the BDDC data templates? So just a refresher of what the templates are and how does this consultancy relate to that? And finally, the very exciting part of hearing from fellow agencies of their journey with NYP for these kinds of projects. All right, so we will first be kickstarting point 1, where we will be sharing about RPA, and we will be sharing 2 videos on RPA. The first one is really just an overview of what RPA is. And the second video is to show you in not real time, but in actual video form, the manual work versus the same work that is done by the RPA robot. And then NYP will then come in to give you a deeper understanding of what they will support you in when you go for the consultancy. All right, so let's go and watch the first video. I will need to share my sound.
He handles several invoices and other financial records like monetary transactions, liabilities, checks, and ledgers on a daily basis. One of his tasks is to copy all the relevant information from these invoices, such as the name of the company, invoice ID, and data processing into a spreadsheet, and mail the sheet along with other financial reports to his superiors by the end of the day. As any prompt employee, he transfers all the information to the sheet, attaches the reports, and sends them over to his boss via email every day.
I have heard that the video is not moving. I'm so sorry. Let me try again.
But he handles several invoices and other financial records like monetary transactions, liabilities, checks, and ledgers on a daily basis. One of his tasks is to copy all the relevant information from these invoices, such as the name of the company, invoice ID, and data processing into a spreadsheet, and mail the sheet along with other financial reports to his superiors by the end of the day. As any prompt employee, he transfers all the information to the sheet, attaches the reports, and sends them over to his boss via email every day. But over a period, he starts finding this task to be time-consuming and repetitive. Frustrated, Jim looks for a way to reduce the time and effort it takes to complete the task. And voila! He stumbles across Robotic Process Automation, aka RPA. Using Robotic Process Automation, he builds a simple bot that extracts information from several invoices into an Excel sheet, attaches all the necessary financial reports, and sends them over to his superiors via email at a specific time every day. So, what exactly is Robotic Process Automation? Robotic Process Automation, RPA, is the use of software with artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities to handle high-volume repetitive tasks that previously required humans to perform. Some of these tasks include addressing queries, making calculations, maintenance of records, and performing transactions. There are several misconceptions about RPA. RPA is not a humanoid robot. It does not have a physical form and no resemblance to humans. RPA cannot replace humans or replicate human cognitive functions. It does not have a brain of its own, and cannot perform logical or critical thinking as humans do.
All right, so now we see what RPA is. That was just a very brief overview of what RPA is. So now I'm going to show another video which will show you side by side the manual work versus the work done by the RPA robot.
He handles several
Now, let's compare cleaning data manually versus using RPA. You can see on the left side how the data is being cleaned manually, whereas on the right, a separate Excel sheet is created for the robot to output the results after cleaning. On the left, we can see 10 rows of data, requiring 12 minutes to be cleaned manually. Therefore, for 100 rows, 120 minutes is required. However, on the right, we can see the robot cleaning the whole data set with hundreds of rows behind the scenes in just 5 seconds. The automation significantly reduces the time required for data cleaning, accomplishing tasks in seconds that would otherwise take minutes to complete manually. Here is the next part of the process, one with clean data and the other with unstructured data. The robot is now working behind the scenes to match and flag exceptions. As seen, the process with unstructured data will cause an error to occur. And even when the process runs without issues, the resulting accuracy tends to be significantly lower. A task that previously took Adeline around 10 hours to complete can now be completed in 5 minutes. Through this journey, the two main things we have learned is firstly, automation reduces the repetitive and monotonous tasks involved, and that robots can complete these tasks within a short time. Secondly, data in RPA processes should be cleaned, accurate, and reliable before automation to ensure quality and accuracy of automated processes. As we witness the power of automation, remember, the future belongs to those who embrace change and innovation. Join the RPA revolution and unlock new possibilities.
Okay, so I will now pass my time to Sito, who will be presenting on what RPA is and how the consultancy will support you.
Thank you, Alexa. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me share my slide. Okay, I hope you can see my slide.
Can see Sito, very nice.
Okay, thank you. My name is Sito from Nanyang Polytechnic. I will share an overview of Robotic Process Automation, aka RPA, including what is RPA software, how to identify suitable process for RPA, and how to actually develop use cases. And then finally, I will also talk about our NYP commitment and deliverables in this initiative. So before I proceed, allow me to introduce the team who are identified to support this initiative. Currently, we have 4 academic staff, including myself, Benson, Nihu, and Michael. We are academic staff in NYP who have been working on RPA project, teaching RPA subject to our students and our CET learners. So what is RPA? What is Robotic Process Automation? Okay, Robotic Process Automation actually is a software technology. It's not a hardware robot. No hardware is involved. Basically, it is a software robot that mimic the human action to interact with other software in your computer to do your daily work. Okay, the software robot, usually we call it bot. It's actually a program in your computer. So since it's a software program, it can work faster, can deliver consistent output. So in the market now, there are several popular RPA software. Okay, the best overall, according to the latest technical review, is UiPath. Okay, and Microsoft Power Automate is also gaining popularity because it comes with the Microsoft 365 subscriptions. Then Automation Anywhere and many others software are on the list for the RPA software. So for this initiative with NCSS, NYP adopt the UiPath community version, which is free. So perpetually free. So there are other UiPath edition which require user to pay a subscription fees. The community version is sufficient for most of the small to enterprise organization. So please note, when we say RPA, we refer to the technology. And then when we say UiPath, Power Automate, we refer to the software for the technology. So next, let's have a quick look of the processes which are suitable for RPA. Okay, processes that are rule-based, with well-defined data, clear decision-making criteria, repetitive, very high in volume, you have to do it every day. These are good candidates for RPA. So tasks which are mundane, take up a lot of time, and quite prone to error, human errors, these are the tasks that are suitable. And of course, we have to select the tasks which are important. Although we say mundane, these tasks are actually important in terms of efficiency, customer experience, compliance, and important to cost saving. So these are the good candidates for us to select for the RPA process. So we will advise for beginners to start with operation which allow us to start small. So example, we can use RPA to automate one part of the entire operation first, or for us to see the benefit of RPA and confirm we have selected the right operation before we move on to automate the entire operation. All right, next I will share some use cases. Okay, so typically we use RPA software to automate data entry, data extraction from different systems or templates, to reconcile data from different data sources, to generate reports. The software we use typically involve Excel, PDF, Microsoft Word, and web-based applications. All right, so I want to share one example. So a senior activity center capture attendance of the senior activities using an Excel file or of their own format. So from this attendance list, the administrator periodically, every quarter or every month, need to identify the name in the attendance, which can be included in a report to a government agencies. So the process of checking the names in the attendance list, compare the name in a lookup table provided by the government agencies. After that, extract the info of these seniors and fill up the agency's report template, take up a lot of time. So we have done a project for the SSA, and then we tested things that need hours or days now can be completed within minutes, and then there's no error. Also, these are the very exciting examples that we would like to share. So, okay, last but not least, let's talk about our NYP commitment in this NCSS NYP initiative. So, individual SSA can engage NYP to develop RPA projects. Actually, no different from you engaging a software company. Okay, the project will be done by the staff. Just now you saw 4 of us, right? In fact, there are many more. If we need to rope in other colleagues, we can do so. So take note, this is a project by staff, not by student. And for your information, academic staff like us, our core duty beside teaching, we are required to support the industries, including the social service sector. So my colleague and myself will work with you to identify suitable process for RPA, develop the software robot together with you, or with your input. Based on your input, we develop the robot, test and deploy the software robot on site, then conduct end user training and provide maintenance after that. Actually, not just end user training. If you are keen to pick up the skills to develop the software robot yourself, we are more than happy to provide the necessary training and technology transfer. Okay, with that, I end my presentation. I hand the time over to Aston from Catholic Welfare Services. Thank you.
Hi, thank you, Sito. Just to check whether you all can see my screens and hear me.
Yeah, can see your screen and can
Okay, great, thank you. Thanks, Sito. A very good afternoon to everyone. I'm Aston from Catholic Welfare Service. Happy to be here with you all to share our RPA journey. Okay, maybe a quick brief on Catholic Welfare Service. We are a charity founded in 1959 with the aim of uplifting the life of the less fortunate in the community. Today, we provide a holistic range of program services, which include childcare center in a nursing home, social support for youth and families in needs. We run a day center for adults with disability. We befriend and we also provide shelters for the homeless and also run 3 nursing homes for the seniors. As part of our strategic goals to improve operation efficiency, we are looking at investing in technology, automation, and digitalization. We aim to improve our service delivery, ease laborious tasks, and hopefully to reduce mundane documentations for our people so that they can prioritize their time on direct care for the beneficiary. And hence the RPA pilot. In the homes, nursing home specifically, there are many processes. So we started to shortlist those that are structured, meaning that they have clear steps and action plans and doesn't require human intervention in the steps involved. Then we have a second round in shortlisting to find out those processes with high volume and repetitive tasks. With that, we identified 4 potential business cases as follows. We begin our pilot with our billing process in the Centrisa nursing home. So every month we need to send our billing invoices to our residents. And we spend about a week plus to almost about 2 weeks to generate those invoices. There are 3 key pain points involved in this process. Firstly, we need to validate the number of days the residents stay in the home so that we can accurately bill them the correct amount. And this number changes from month to month because of factors such as they admit to the hospital, they got discharged, or they went for a home leave, etc., etc. Next, we need to consolidate the bills, other bills that's involved like ambulance, transport, etc. And also some adjustment may be required, such as government grants or NOK giving an advance deposit for 12 months or 6 months, etc. And the third one will be to sort and to submit invoices for gyro and money fund processing. Okay, before I show how RPA has helped us automate this billing process, maybe a quick sharing on what we do manually today to validate the number of days that the residents stay in a home. Firstly, we download many reports from several sources. Then we start to split the bill to make sure that if the billing fall within the invoicing month, then we start to validate the number of days the residents stay at home with one report. Then we move on to check with another report to see if the resident leave the home for a number of days. After that, we validate the subsidy rates for the residents. And after that, we validate with another report to check whether is there any changes to the subsidy rates. Then we resolve any issue that we found. And we repeat this for all the 190 residents every month. So with this in mind, now we will show you what the RPA have done for us.
Before running the automation process, the user will place the data from two sources in a specific folder. There are an Excel spreadsheet generated by the billing system and a PDF file generated by the clinical system. To trigger the automation process in the computer, the user will open the project file using the UiPath Studio and click the Run button. In the pop-up options, select Validate Days Stayed in the Home to proceed. The software robot will mimic the human actions to retrieve the data from the Excel and compare the data in the PDF files. If any discrepancy is found, the automation process will write the finding in an Excel table. Upon completion, the user can close the UiPath Studio and proceed to check on the output of the process. The discrepancies in the two data sources are tabulated in an Excel table. Based on the findings, the user can follow up to rectify the issues in the two data sources. This demo process validates 120 data in the Excel file against the data in 174 pages of PDF file. The automated validation process took about 2 minutes to complete. Before running the automation.
Okay, so with that videos, what simply took us days and over weeks can now be sorted out within 2 to 3 minutes and consistent without errors. So it's a good start, and it's all possible because of NYP support. Special thanks to Sito and Ling in this journey. So NYP is instrumental to help us in terms of identifying the processes to be RPA, to help us identify what are areas that we can streamline or to remove steps so that the process is limbo. Then to help us to look at opportunity to RPA and also to develop it and deploy it. So with this, right, in summary, some of the learnings that we learned in this pilots is that the process must be a structured one. So to put it simply, I would imagine that if I can list down all my process, I can list down all the steps in a step-by-step guide and pass it to a new colleague to run it, then that process can be RPA. Then next is to focus on processes with high volume and repetitive tasks. Preferably, you wanted to RPA to be able to take over the entire process rather than having many of the human and RPA handover interactions. Then, and also strongly advised to automate the process if possible before the RPA. So with this, that's all I have to share. Special thanks to Ling and Sito again, and also Jolene and Jaslyn in this journey. Okay, Alexa, back to you.
Thanks so much, Aston, for your sharing, as well as Sito. Thank you for sharing about RPA and giving us a wider perspective as well as your use case to tell us what RPA can do. So sorry, Bisun. I still have to share about the BDDC templates before it's your turn. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, so before we jump into the next section, and I'll hand the time over to Bisun to share about the BDDC consultancy, I will now be sharing to give you a refresher of the BDDC data templates. so you guys can see what it is. So we launched this BDDC. We launched the BDDC data templates earlier this year, actually a few months to this consultancy. So it is BDDC, Better Data Driven Charities. It's a program Hello, I think I was disconnected for a while. Yeah. Okay, so sorry, let me just share my screen again. You can always count to have technical errors during the webinar, even though we do a technical run before. Okay, no worries, the show must go on. All right, so as I was sharing about the Better Data Driven program, it is aimed to uplift the data proficiency in the social service sector by providing the resources for SSAs to become more data-driven. So it is mainly to help the agencies achieve better client outcomes and operational objectives. So through this program, there have been curated data templates for the SSAs to generate the automated dashboards through using Power BI. So I will just quickly list out some of the curated templates that we have. Okay, I can't really see what I'm sharing. Give me 1 second. Okay, Ken. So sorry, 1 second. Okay, so sorry about that. Okay, the first one being donation management, growing donations. Second being HR management, improving HR planning, volunteer management, retaining and engaging volunteers, as well as case management, managing of caseloads, and resource planning. So because this isn't a BDDC webinar, I will only quickly run through the dashboards to give you an idea of the dashboards that can be run using these data templates. Okay, first off is the donor dashboard. Broadly speaking, you'll be able to see individual donors versus the corporate donors throughout the month per year. So diving into an example, using the data to strategically plan fundraising campaigns, as these usually garner a higher donation rate. So, growing donations. Next up is a volunteer dashboard, where you will be able to find snapshots of your volunteer demographics, volunteers by residential location, and also able to help you visualize the opportunities using the data that you have in one snapshot area. So, for example, you will be able to use the data on the residential locations of volunteers and their skill sets to strategically design and plan recruitment activities and programs that will best attract and retain your volunteers in the long run. We also have a HR dashboard to give you a snapshot of the employee demographic, their performance and analysis on HR, for example, reasons of leaving, actual versus target headcount per sector or department, as well as recruitment analysis. And lastly, we have the case management dashboard, which will show you your client demographic as well as have a case and case worker analysis. So now that you have a refresher of all these data templates, you can actually find these which are already free and available for you on our Tech and Go website. So there are two options that you can go and find these resources, right? One easy one, you can just scan this QR code and it will bring you straight there. If you go to our Tech and Go website, you just have to go to the resourcing page, and under there, you will find the Better Data Driven Charities. That's where you can find our resources. Okay, that was a quick overview of the BDDC data templates. Now I'll pass the time on to Visun, who will be sharing on the onboarding and implementation process of the data templates with SSAs that you can expect if you go on board our consultancy. All right, Visun, you are up.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Wilson from Nanyang Poly. I will share on BDDC. So these are things that we'll go through the items to look at the theme that we have in Nanyang Poly, the key tasks, total 7, and look at the 2 use cases on management and also action. So we have a small team of 3 persons, this BDDC. Yongwi, Benson, and myself. Okay, the key task, the first key task is to understand the needs of the agency and which one they want for the project. We then contextualize that template and also decide on the charts, like to remove too many charts on the dashboard. Those not relevant ones will have to be removed. So useful, but we need to fine tune a bit to suit the needs of the agency. May not be familiar what charts to be added to meet the strategic intent. We can help them along the way in this area. Agreement, NDA. Basically, we look at all the clauses and agreed by both parties, then we get it signed. Seek opinion. So we may take some time for this. Example, Excel. And
So sorry, Bisun, your audio is a little bit choppy.
is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe you can go back and maybe you can quickly run through what are the key tasks involved in the consultancy.
okay. Maybe
Yeah.
the Wi-Fi. Okay. The first key task is to understand the agency needs. That means they have to select one of the 4 templates as mentioned by you, Elisa. The second is to contextualize and customize the data template and also the charts. What charts to be removed, what charts to be revised, and what charts to be added. Is it clear now?
Yeah, it's better now. Thank you.
Okay. So for agency who may not be familiar with what charts, there are many charts, right? Bubble charts, waterfall, and all that. So we can help them along the way if they're not familiar with that. So we all this decided, for pilot project, this is free of charge, right? But the subsequent will be chargeable project, right? So probably at this point, we'll probably work out how much it will cost to do the development, and then get all the finance thing done, right? Before we do this NDA, non-disclosure agreement, to be signed. The 4th task will be data files to be provided by the agency, and it has to be in digital format, example Excel, and need to be password protected. If they are personalized information like NRIC number, will help to desensitize this information before we do the dashboard and the chart. Okay, task number 6 is the main one, right? Before we proceed to do this one, I think we'll wait for the purchase order, right, to be issued to us as opposed to, okay, and to be agreed upon the timeline and all that. So this is an iterative process. That means we'll get back to the user to see is that what they want and any fine tune and all that, right? That is within the timeline that we can meet. So it's an iterative process. So once this part is completed, there will be the last part with the training of the users on operation. Like if they have a different file directory, what do they do? If they need data, what do they do? So there are 2 training options available for them. One is through virtual training, briefing. The other one is a face-to-face training. So you can choose one of the two. So those are the 7 key tasks that we have for the pilot projects. That's what they developed for the first one is human resource management and planning. So you can see that the employee demographic, these are the existing template that Elisa showed, right? We have these 3. So, and then the rest are new one because they are special need. So we have a hire, right? Annual user service, HR analysis. We have the training hours, average training hours, staff turnover rate, and then for the employee performance, we have the salary, and then the staff feedback rating. So Melissa, my partner, will elaborate more on this later on after me, right, for this. The second dashboard that we have developed for another agency is on donation growing. So you can see there are many same arrangement. We have the individual donor on top, corporate donor below. There's no change on this the way it's been laid out. But we also added new charts for that based on the needs of the agency. First new charts, they need a free map for the individual donor, similar to what they have on the corporate donor. So we did that one for them. And then one more new chart on recurring versus one-time donation. Then for the bottom, corporate donor, also one new chart. And revised 2 charts. So total 3 new charts and 2 revised charts. So this second project is more challenging in the sense that the number of records is very huge. I think there are 100,000 over records. So it takes time, and then if you're not, if we are not, we impatient, and then the system can get hung. But the first project that we have also have new challenges because there are a lot of new charts, so we have to gather new data and then do all this. So different challenges for the 2 different projects. Yeah, that's all for my sharing. Thank you. Melissa will be next.
Thank you, Wisun. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Melissa. I'm from BDDC Pregnancy Crisis Support. So today I'll just share a bit of the digital journey that we have and the consultation that we have with NCSS. So I guess post-COVID, this journey has been ongoing. So for BABES, it has been about 2.5 years. Yeah. So broadly, just about BABES. So we've started in 2005. So it has been 18 years since we've been around. So we are here to support pregnant teens to let them be aware of the decisions that they could make on the outcome of their pregnancy. Okay, so we have been independent in the last 10 years. So we came out independently from Beyond in 2013. So we have just refreshed our vision and mission last year. So apart from continuing the support with pregnant teens, we are now looking at how to prevent unplanned pregnancy amongst teens. So this is the new work that we are doing in terms of upstream work. Okay, next. So broadly, this is our team. As you can see, it's really lean. I mean, we have the case management team on the left side, which we have 4 staff. And then on the right side of things are the corporate and HR function. So regardless of how big or small an agency is, we still need the respective corporate functions. So in our digital journey, what we are looking at is really how can we enable staff with tech so that they could focus on other work. So whatever that can be outsourced to tech and leave it to tech, we hope to achieve that. So just to share broadly about HR journey. So this is how it looks like then. When I first joined BABES about 3 years ago, we worked with MPAC to support us in our payroll function. I guess for some of the agencies, we do outsource some of our accounting or HR. So for BABES specifically, our payroll function was with MPAC. And we had our Just Login, which is a HRMS system. And the only function that we use in HRMS for Just Login was the leave. So what happens to the rest? We actually were tracking it on spreadsheet. So very thankful that with post-COVID, there was about quite a bit of funding from NCSS for Tech and Go. So we were able to embark on a HRMS system. So we took on AGHRM. But with analysis work, we kind of still need to turn to Excel. But at least through HMS, we were able to have other functions like we took on payroll on our own, leave and claim and appraisal and training were all logged into the system. So at least that helped relieve some of the work. Okay. So next, just to share on, even with the AGHRM, how do we then do our reporting and analysis? This could be familiar to most of you. You know, we will usually export to Excel if we have a HRMS. If you don't have, then it's probably just working on your Excel spreadsheet. We need to tidy up the data to ensure that we generate the charts and all. They look something like this. And this is the bulk of the item that takes up most of our time, because if you do not have the right data, it's almost impossible to generate the charts, let alone analyzing the respective charts and what's happening to provide report for management or even the board. So with AGHRM, how it looks like for the kind of reports is like there's like 20 over 30 reports. But the thing is about these reports, there is no visual. It only comes out in charts. So it makes the analysis really difficult. And in my previous slide, having to open up every different report just to get the info is also quite time consuming. However, this is a big improvement from what we had before. So these are small steps that we are taking to see how we can also improve our use of data and also through the systems that we're embarking on. So AGHRM was last year. And then this year, thankfully, NCSS had BDDC. So we were kind of able to benchmark or reference what possible dashboards are available for our use. Might not be the most efficient, but still it's an improvement from where we started off. Okay, so just to share on how the journey was with Wisun and NYP, it started actually in June, July, where we defined the scope. So it was really quite fast. We met over Zoom, we established the timeline. And because you see our team is really quite small, so what we had was really the baseline. How can we use our existing data to build on a basic dashboard that we could use for reporting? So it was really something that was quite quick and simple, that was within our means to achieve within the short timeline that we had. And then we had the planning and execution, which was the main bulk of work, because there are things like administrative matters, signing the non-disclosure agreement, and then having to tidy up the data that we have to match the templates that NYP has in order to generate the Power BI charts. So I mean, all these were quite fast because we were able to kind of just clarify over emails, and also there wasn't a lot of time needed to like multiple meetings. So it really depends on how large a scope you might have to work with NYP. And then lastly, what we have is really the execution. So with their guidance, we were able to set up the Power BI files. And then with this, we hope to use it for half-yearly reporting. Okay, next. So what were our requirements? As you can see, our HR dashboard chart was really quite simple. Of course, NCSS has the larger dashboard with more details on staff and all, but what we really require is really just a sense on the demographics of the staff. What kind of hire do we have? Is it mainly full-time, part-time, contract, or even interns? Because we also do our payroll in the HRMS system for interns, and also the tenure and organization. So even though our organization is small, we actually do have staff who have been with us for 10 years. So these are things that we also look at to see how we can use this information to remunerate or even acknowledge staff based on their tenure that they have been with us. And also, of course, things like higher retention rate, which most of us are actually quite keen to understand. And of course, things that we want to note is also the number of leave taken, because at times we want to know, half yearly at the end of the year, how much leave is carried forward, so that we can remind staff to clear the necessary leave and not be forfeited, or should there be a percentage that's carried forward, what is that amount? So these are just some of the requirements that we have where we established with NYP. Okay, next. So this is how our dashboard looks like. Yeah, so this is a bit like what Wisun had shared. So probably one area that's quite new that we wanted was whether on the bottom left corner is are we benchmarking ourselves with the salary guidelines? This could be an area of challenge for most agencies, as year on year, NCSS has those guidelines. So we as an agency, this is something that we would want to catch up. So that's why we intentionally put this as on our dashboard, so that we will be able to remunerate all our staff accordingly with what the market is paying. Yeah, so I mean, some of these are things that can be added on or removed. So that's where we are able to have this discussion and dialogue with NYP. Okay, so what is it like for us now? Is that we still need to export to Excel. However, that exporting is much easier because now it's just a click away on AGHRM. So this portion, there's a lot more time saving on this instead of in the past having to tidy up the data. Now with the HRMS system, all the info of staff is already keyed in. So how then do we maintain and ensure that the data that we collect is clean, so that each time when we download and import into the Power BI template, we will have the most up-to-date info. And then lastly is really copying over the necessary charts for the reporting. So what's next for us? I think like what we have seen in some of the videos earlier, there is the how do we then continue to have that data collection process to maintain the database. So I'm not talking only about HR database, but across all our functions, how do we ensure that what we collect is accurate and correct? So what we are also concurrently working on is the Salesforce CRM for our donation and volunteer management. So with the different CRM systems, how do we ensure that this data collection is complete and correct? And of course, next is also, I think, to explore RPA. Instead of having to manually clean up all those information, how can we probably apply for the funding to look into RPA to organize our information, so that when we go live on our Salesforce, what we have in there is really clean and up to date, so that we could generate the necessary dashboards. And lastly, the dashboards that we have for DBMS and DMS, Salesforce has the capabilities to have their own dashboards. So what we are working on at Babes is to mirror what NCSS has on the BDDC. On some of these components, we can create the dashboards internally. So for this, we don't actually need to work on an additional Power BI, but with Salesforce, we can actually just mirror what NCSS has with the necessary fields to create our dashboards on the Salesforce platform. And lastly, is to continually enhance the HRMS database, because for AGHRM, it's not the best for now, but it was what we had best option then. So we will continue to explore what is a good system for us moving forward. So with that, I end my presentation. I'll hand over the time to Alexa.
Thank you so much, Melissa, as well as Reesoon, for sharing on what agencies can expect for the BDDC consultancy. So just wanted to also highlight some points that Melissa shared, right? So while the NCSS BDDC data template is able to give you quite a lot of information and a lot of data that you can visualize on your dashboards. So if I run through all the different other dashboards BDDC has to offer, your agency might not need every single one. But so what this consultancy can help you is to look into the type of data that you want to analyze and you want to visualize in one snapshot on a dashboard, and they will be able to help you pick out as well as customize, as you saw from the two use cases that we soon shown just now, the types of portions that they kept and the types that were removed, as well as ones that were customized. So through this consultancy, you will be also able to receive this kind of support where they will be able to talk through, what are your user requirements, what's the data that you want to show, as well as what are the charts that you want to remove, to keep, as well as to customize. Yeah, so just wanted to highlight this point. And yeah, okay. So I'll pause here for now. And I just want to say a huge thank you to all our presenters today. It's not the end of the webinar yet. We still have about half an hour more to go. But I really hope that through the sharings today, you guys, the agencies, will have a better idea of how RPA as well as BDDC can help you through your data journey. So with that, I would like to share with you the workshops that you can look forward to. All right. So the first one that is happening next week is the RPA workshop, a preview to Power BI workshop, as well as something that you can look forward to next year is the Power BI 2 full-day Power BI workshops hosted by NYP. Unfortunately, as we have closed the registration for the RPA workshops, oops, I see that I was not showing the right screen here. Yes, so sorry about that. Technical error again. Yeah. Okay, so we have closed the RPA workshop registration as all slots are currently filled. But no worries. At the end of this webinar, there will be a feedback section. If you are keen to sign up for a RPA workshop and there is enough interest, we can hopefully, ask NYP if they are ready to do another iteration of it. So please leave, tell us whether you are keen to sign up for the RPA workshop if you were not able to get a slot this time round. All right. So for those who are attending the RPA workshop, what you can expect is an introduction and a basic knowledge of RPA, as well as going more in depth of what are the right processes to select for RPA. So it will really be a more in-depth version of what Sito shared earlier today during this webinar, because in the short time, he is not able to, download all the information to you. You will also be able to have a hands-on guided RPA scripting exercise during the workshop. So for those of you who are interested in this hands-on exercise, please bring your own laptops with the RPA software downloaded into it already. So instructions on how to download the RPA software have been included within your meeting invite. So refer to that. Please download the software before you attend the workshops. So one last thing, that this is actually more of an introduction to RPA kind of workshop. So no worries, you don't have to expect yourself to come out of this workshop being an expert in RPA. I'm sure Sito and his team have years and years of experiences under their belt to be able to be experts in their field and make RPA seem so easy. So the purpose of this workshop is really to provide you the introduction and introductory knowledge of RPA to give you a better view of how you can scope your projects to be supported by these experts. And if you need, they can also provide the training for you to maintain the RPA scripts afterwards. Okay, so exciting as well. We have 2 Power BI workshops. The first one that will be held next week via Zoom is called the Preview to Power BI. This is really a preview to what you can expect to see in the 2 full-day Power BI workshops happening in February next year. So in the preview Power BI workshop happening next week, which is 10 November on Friday on Zoom, it will give you an introduction to the BDDC data templates like what I did today, but more in depth because I went through it really fast just now. An introduction to actually using the Power BI tool, as well as introduction to the IMDA PDPC data anonymization tool. This is an online Zoom workshop. There will not be any hands-on work. Okay, so as we mentioned, there's going to be a lot of dealing with sensitive data when you are using Power BI and sharing of your data across organizations or even teams. That is why it's really important to have this data anonymization tool, which will help you reduce your risk in terms of having data breaches. Okay, so just to highlight that this Power BI workshop, these 2 full days will be hosted by NYP, and you will be able to use your Skills Future credits to cover the cost fees of this workshop. So please look out for more information of this 2-day Power BI workshop. We will be sending out the information maybe closer to the end of the year. Okay. So if you are excited to find out more about Power BI, BDDC templates, as well as the data anonymization tool, and you would like to see whether or not this, whether you are suitable to go for the 2-day Power BI workshop, this is a really good chance to get a taster of it. So sign up and get yourself into the workshop that's happening next Friday. Okay, I'm gonna stay here for another 5 seconds for you to whip out your phone to scan this QR code to sign up. Okay, before I jump into the next section, which is constant across all webinars. Yes, the funding section of how you can be supported for all these consultancies that we shared today. So how do you know whether your agency is suitable for this? If you've heard something during this webinar that resonates with you and the work that you do in your agency, and you have questions like, what is the right processes to RPA? And how do I write the RPA scripts? Or you have questions like, how do I customize the BDDC templates? According to your agency's need. I don't want to just use the standard template that is already available, as well as the general development and implementation phase. If you have questions like this already, this consultancy is definitely for you. So the consultancy, as per all our other grants, is 80% funded per project, and the funding is capped at 6K per project. All right, so who is eligible? Should be all of you here because you're NCSS member or MSF funded agencies. The cost for each project will be around 3 to 6K. It really depends on the scope of work. That's why before you apply for this grant, you have to talk to NYP to determine what is the scope so that they can provide you a quotation. The funding amount is up to 80%. So that will mean that your agency per project will only need to pay about $800 to $1,200. That is the 20% co-payment that you need to pay only. If one project is not enough, and you feel that there is another scope that you want to tap on for another RPA or another BDDC consultancy, you are able to apply for multiple projects capped at 30K per SSA. As I mentioned earlier, the pricing will be provided to you when you are in discussion with NYP, because it really depends on, what are the RPA processes you need, how many RPA processes, how many charts do you need to customize, etc. So all that is in discussion with NYP. The KPIs for this project is 70% staff satisfaction with the consultancy, as well as 100% adherence to the timeline. Very straightforward. Okay, so running through the application process of this whole consultancy. Firstly, as I mentioned, always contact the IHL, which is the Institute of Higher Learning, which in this case is NYP. So for RPA projects, the point of contact is Mr. Sito, as presented earlier. For BDDC consultancy, it is Dr. Fu. Yes, please contact these two for your scope of works to ask them, okay, I have this challenge. How can NYP support me? Then they will come in and advise you already. Obtain the quotation from NYP. So the quotation will include the project scope, timeline, deliverables, as well as the cost of the project, which is capped at 6K per project. These consultancy projects should be completed all within 1 year. And the same application is through our Singapore Grant Portal using Corpus. So you just need to fill in this consultancy project proposal, submit that one quotation from NYP, click into the OSG portal, submit those applications, fill in some fields on the OSG portal, and you're good to go. You send it in, we'll process it, and we will let you know when it is approved. So how you will know when it's approved is when NCSS site, through the OSG portal, will send you a letter of acceptance, an LOA for short, as well as the funding package, where whoever within your agency has the rights will go into the system to accept it. So you may only start the project and start engaging with the consultant, sign all the agreements when you have received this LOA from us and not before, because we are not able to support projects that have already started. And lastly, the disbursement wise, these projects, the consultancy projects, will be 100% disbursement upon project completion. That means when NYP issues you the invoice and you receive the invoice for this project, and you have received the consultancy's report, the final evaluation report, as well as the invoices, the project has closed, everything is completed, then you can submit your claims and be reimbursed for the 80% amount. All right, great. So all this information can be found on our Tech & Go website, same as our BDDC data templates, but in a different area. So over here, you will be able to click the funding and support, which will be routing you to the consultancy subsidy. And that is where you can scroll down to see RPA consultancy as well as BDDC consultancy. But at the moment, you will not be able to see the information, but we will only be able to upload it from 23rd November onwards. So please keep a lookout, but don't worry, because the information is within this deck itself, and you'll be able to receive it after the webinar. So now, before we go into our Q&A segment, my colleague Melody has more resources to share with you. For example, the OHFSS, which I mentioned earlier, as well as the OHDS. So Melo, take it away.
Thanks, Alexa, and thank you to all of our speakers and panelists for today. So I think all of you have heard a lot about this NYP consultancy launch on the RPA, and I'm sure you're all very excited about it. So I wanted to just explain a little bit about the bigger frame of this, and I do apologize because my camera is not working. So maybe, yeah, we can all focus on the slides instead. So, okay, what you have just heard about today in today's webinar is actually a part of a domain called digitalization. And this falls under the bigger frame of the organizational health framework for social services. So this was developed with the social service sector in mind. And I'm sure a lot of you have already seen this, so I won't go too much into this. I wanted to just explain a little bit about how this could benefit your organization. Through improving your organizational health, you could then go on to improve your service delivery and serve your clients and customers better. So there are two main approaches that we can go about in diagnosing your organizational health needs and then subsequently improving them. The first one is the OHFSS self-assessment. So this is done by your own organization, and it's more of a self-report that you can refer to as a reflection of the current state of org health in your organization. The other one, the organizational health diagnostic scheme, is actually third-party led. So it will be led by a consultant who will walk your organizations through the whole process. They will go through the diagnostics with you and then come up with a 3-year roadmap and then go into the implementation stage together with your organization. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you want to learn a lot more about what you have just heard about, the OHFSS, or if you have some questions that we won't be able to address in today's webinar, do scan this QR code on screen and sign up for one of our upcoming OHFSS workshops. So there we will introduce you to each of the domains under the OHFSS and teach you how to interpret your results so that you can benefit more from the diagnostic that you go through. Yep, so just come down and come and chat with us and tell us your concerns and your questions. I'll just pause for a while here. So do scan the QR code if you're interested in joining us. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so what I've mentioned earlier, the OHDS, this is a relatively newer scheme. And as I've mentioned, it is also a step-by-step process that is led by a consultant. So first, you go into diagnosing your organization's org health, and then together with the consultants, you will develop a strategy document that will be carried out across a 3-year period. And then together with them, you will be able to implement the plan within a year. And at the end of it, do an evaluation to see if this has actually helped your organization in improving your org health. Over here, maybe what is most important or most interesting for us is the funding amount. So when you go through the OHDS, NZSS will actually take care of up to 80% of the funding capped at 40K. So for the agency, you will only need to fork out up to 20% of the whole cost of this diagnostic scheme. So yeah, sounds pretty good, right? Okay, next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. So for the OHDS, you can actually do your application via our Singapore Grant portal. However, we do encourage you to write into us if you have any questions, if you want to make any kind of clarification before you sign up for this. So later on at the end of this presentation, we will be sharing some relevant email addresses that you can write into and can schedule a call with us. We also have small group clinics if you want to learn more about the OHFSS and the OHDS. Yeah, next slide, please. All right, so thank you for hearing me about the UHFSS. I will now hand the time back to Alexa, who will be conducting the Q&A. I think also to just bring it up that if you have any questions from any of the presentations earlier, do drop them in the Q&A box, and we will try our best to address all of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mello. So yes, now is the Q&A segment. I do see the Q&A box quite lively now. Thank you so much for your questions. We really appreciate it. So now we will just be coming back together and, just trying to address some of the few questions that are being asked again. So we address them for everyone here. Okay. So I think we will be inviting the rest of the speakers, Sito, Wisun, Aston, Melissa, to please switch on your camera so that we can spotlight you so that we can start the Q&A segment.
Alexa, we have some Q&A answered.
Yes, I did see.
By text really.
Yes, I saw. Thank you so much for answering. Maybe we can talk a bit more about on RPA, can NYP provide consultancy services in Power Automate instead of UiPath? Because we spoke so much about UiPath, right? So maybe Sito, you can just
yeah, sure.
give more details on the differences.
I have type in the answer as well. Sure, definitely. Actually, Power Automate is part of our expertise for your info. We have done a couple of in-house projects using Power Automate. But for SSA, so far, we have not had any project on Power Automate. But okay, in GIS, yes, no problem. Power Automate, we are more than happy to work with you to develop your RPA using Power Automate. Yeah, the other question is a bit specific about
Zapier. How is RPA different from local automations like Zapier?
Hey, sorry, can hear me? Okay,
Yes.
Zapier actually is different. It's not RPA, but it's a BPA. It's a business process automation. Basically, it's to make some complex application easier by automating some of the process in the software and all that. But it's not really mimic human being, take over the mundane tasks and all that. So it's slightly different. Slightly different. So technically, we don't call Zapier RPA software, or we call it a BPA software. All right, and then next one is UiPath installation. Okay, good question. In fact, very good question. If you go to UiPath software itself, right, they will say that, okay, if you just want to develop some basic automation process to help you in your daily work, you use UiPath Studio X. All right, Studio X. But if you're talking about the course, the workshop next week, we are going to use UiPath Studio. Okay, which allow us to handle slightly more complicated tasks than UiPath Studio X. All right. Then talking about the workshop next week, don't worry if you have signed up. If you don't have laptop with you or your laptop, your admin, your IT admin don't allow you to install software on your laptop, don't worry, you can still come. Or we'll set aside some laptop to loan it to you to play around with the hands-on exercises. Okay, I know some of you may have some constraint in installing software on your staff computer. So don't worry, we have you covered. Okay, NYP provide training course, any RPA training course at NYP to make you more self-sufficient. Okay, we have introduction to RPA course. To make you more self-sufficient, I think you will need to have some commitment at your end. That means we don't expect you walk out from the course and become a developer, but the course will help you to kickstart your capability development journey. All right, I think as like any other technical area also we need to have our own commitment. But also to take the opportunity to answer the other question, can a non-IT person pick up RPA, right? The answer is definitely a yes. All right, we have many cases in NYP. Our admin colleagues pick up the RPA, and then actually to our surprise, they can handle quite sophisticated tasks, to help them in their daily work. Oh, and this they are not technical people. They are admin. They are our admin colleagues.
Yeah. So with that, right, could I also ask Aston to share on this point? For a non-IT person, is it easy to learn RPA because you went through the process, right? So are you able to answer for your staff? Are they able to pick up this RPA easily?
Hi everyone. I think for this process itself, right, we are more looking at a more end user point of view. But understanding the logic of RPA and what can work, what cannot work, and facilitating the whole design. But we haven't been so daring to go into the programming part yet. Yeah, I mean I'm interesting. I did some research study by myself. I think in general there are some rules in the software, like it's quite drag and drop type, but you just need to be familiar with the icons and when you drag this workflow and drag this button, what does it mean? So there are some customization required. I mean the education required in that. So it's possible, but I think for now we are quite we won't be so ambitious trying to learn that and do it ourselves, but really relying on NYP first to help us get the process going, especially on those high volume and repetitive tasks first. And once we settled the big bulk of that, then we could probably look into investing some of the resources to do that, so we can settle the more loose processes along the way.
Thank you so much for being very honest, Aston, because I feel it's important to say this because I feel a lot of agencies also feel the same way as you, right? That, they would love to venture on this robotics process automation journey, but it also does sound a bit daunting. Like, do I have to script my own RPA scripts? Do I have to know the logic behind it? So that's why we have this consultancy where the experts will be the one doing all the thinking of writing the scripts, but you just need to provide your requirements. What do you need? Yeah. So just come in with an open mind, not thinking that you will be an RPA expert, because that is the job of our NYP consultants. But those agencies who want to be a RPA expert, of course, NYP also has, training provided for this. So something else for you to explore. But yeah, thank you so much, Aston, for sharing on that note as well. Okay.
Okay, we have one question by Nick from Meta. UiPath versus Power Automate, which one is most recommended? Okay, based on our experience, UiPath is more, at the moment, of course, software evolve, but at the moment, UiPath is actually more user-friendly than Power Automate. All right, because I think Power Automate, relatively speaking, is newer compared to UiPath. UiPath is more established. UiPath is a US company, actually public listed. So it's not a small player. Okay, Power Automate, of course, from an even bigger player, Microsoft. I think, wouldn't be surprised if one day Power Automate can overtake UiPath. But at the moment, as we speak, I think UiPath still have the biggest market share in terms of the RPA adoption. Okay. Oh yeah, one more point to add. Power Automate come with Microsoft 365. So of course, understood, it allow us to seamlessly integrate other Microsoft software under the M365, right? For example, Outlook, Microsoft Excel, and so on. UiPath also can, actually, UiPath also can seamlessly integrate with M365 without any problem. Or in fact, we have done projects using UiPath to automate email sending and receiving and filtering, and even analyze the email that we receive. For example, customer feedback. Also, people use some online form or Form SG, and then the response is in email. So the UiPath can pick up the email and automatically pump the data to Excel, which actually create a dashboard, live dashboard, to see the chart of the feedback, complaint, and so on. This is for government agencies. Also, the point is, don't worry, if you use UiPath with M365 software like Excel or Outlook, no problem at all. Very well-established integration already.
Yeah, that was also a question on the top of my mind, Sito, but you answered it without before I asked
think,
it. Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. We're about 5 minutes from the end. Maybe we can take a couple more questions. I'm referring to some questions that were entered into during the registration. So let me just take a look. Okay, I think a lot of these questions have been answered during the webinar. If we have not answered any of the questions here, please ask them. We will take about 1 or 2 more questions before we end this webinar.
Alexa, you want to highlight the question on BDDC? I think Jaslyn has answered a couple of questions.
Oh, yes.
Maybe we can share with the colleagues who didn't see the text.
Okay. So, Banching asked, maybe some issues in installing BDDC data templates and scripts on Power BI on computers connected to and protected by Microsoft 365 Security Defender. Any solution? Okay, that means that your work laptop has to allow macros enable Excel files in order for the BDDC data templates to work for you. So just one thing to note. So how does BDDC differ from Salesforce dashboards? So BDDC is using Microsoft Power BI, whereas the Salesforce dashboards are customized and pulled directly from the Salesforce systems itself. So something like what Melissa mentioned just now. So she's doing the BDDC data templates for her HR, but she also did mention about using data analysis from the Salesforce system. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just add on, and because for BDDC, it was developed with the inputs from all the agencies where we came up with like what are the things that we want to measure across. So I'm also using that as a reference point as I create my own dashboard on Salesforce. Yeah, so I think the good thing is that Salesforce has dashboards, but not all CRM has dashboard functions. So we kind of could use BDDC as a point of reference on what we can collect and want to collect, and then we can develop the dashboards from our existing CRM, because I do understand that CRM costs quite a fair bit. It takes time to develop. So this is a tool that could help us with the visuals. Yeah.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay. I think since there are no more questions coming in, thank you guys so much for all the panelists, for all your sharing today, as well as the Q&A segment. So maybe we'll just go into our last slide, which is the feedback form. Oh, okay. Sorry. Oops. To the end, I am having technical difficulties. Okay, this is it. So please, I really hope you guys enjoyed the session today, but we really would like to hear your thoughts of how, whether this session helped you understand what RPA is, as well as the BDDC, and how you can actually use these tools in your agencies now. You don't have to be an expert, of course, that's not what I'm asking you to do, but trying to get a better understanding to have the consultants to come in to help you. So please scan this QR code to give us some feedback of how the session went. If you have any other burning questions that we might not have been able to address here, I'll give you some time to scan this QR code. We have also listed down the important emails, for example, for OHFSS or OHDS, for Tech and Go, as well as generally the CCT grant mailboxes. So yes. Once again, I would like to thank everyone for joining us today in this webinar. It's been such a joy to work with NYP as well as CWS and BABES. You guys were wonderful, and thank you guys again for sharing today and helping our sector grow into be digitally capable. With that, I'm wishing everyone a very good weekend nearby. It's Friday tomorrow, thank goodness. And a wonderful November and December ahead. Happy holidays in very, very advance. All right. Thank you, everyone.